Hi everyone, I'm Lerato Mahlangu, and the title of my short story for this competition is Zombie. The most valuable part of the online mentoring sessions for me was basically getting to meet established and seasoned writers, authors, and other individuals in the publishing world and literary spaces. With every session, I basically learned something new about the publishing world, especially the behind-the-scenes part of it, how they select stories and how those stories are then packaged into a single book and then put onto the shelves. It was valuable for me to learn about how much hard work goes into actually getting the final product that we get to see onto the shelves, and how books are marketed and how books are actually sold as well. It was valuable for me to learn about the team process and the teamwork that actually goes into getting a book into a final product, that it's not as easy as it looks, and that it takes a lot of work to actually get the final product into the work of art that it is. Since the sessions, I now think deeply before I put words on paper. So I no longer just write just for the sake of writing. Instead, I ask myself before I write words why I've decided to use these particular words and what purpose these words will serve in the story. I now ask myself questions like what are the themes in the story? What am I trying to say with this particular story? And why should readers actually read the work that I've created or the story that I've written? And I will value the importance of every line and every paragraph in a story. So I ask myself, does this paragraph or does this line move the story forward? Is it necessary, and should I remove it? And I've also learned that this whole process takes time and it takes patience, and that you shouldn't rush into the work, but you should actually try and close all the plot holes, fill in the plot holes, and create some fully developed, realistic characters who are not too animated. I think that's the word that they use. Yeah, characters that are not animated. Yes, there is a particular piece of advice that resonated with me, and it came from Neil Copen, one of our editors, as well as mentors. At the beginning of the whole process, he advised us top 10 writers to that if we can get our hands on it, we should get the book by George Saunders called Swim in a Pond in the Rain. It's basically a book that teaches writers about what makes good short stories. So I think it resonated with me because at the time, or I'm currently reading a book of Russian literature by Fyodor Dostoevsky, I think that's how you pronounce it, called Notes from Underground. So it resonated with me because it just it connected with the story that I'm also reading as well. I think that Russian literature has a way of teaching us about complex characters. It has a way on writing about subjects that many writers probably don't write about, some taboo topics as well. And I think that this book is a good point of contact for anyone who wants to learn about the process of writing short stories, because it dives deep into what makes a particular story good and what makes a particular paragraph good, a line, or the characters as well. So that was the best advice that I've received so far from the competition, and I think I will use the book as a point of reference whenever I write any other story. An aspect of the mentoring process that surprised me is basically how much I'm learning from this process. Going into it, I thought I knew a little bit about short stories and creating characters, but as I was getting into the mentoring process, as I was getting into the sessions, I'm learning that I don't really know as much as I thought I knew, and that there's actually always so much more to learn. There's always so much more to learn. So with this, I can now also go back into some of the works that I've created or some of the works that I've written that have perhaps been rejected, and I can actually tell now, I can point out why this particular story didn't work, why it was rejected. So I'm basically becoming an editor of my own work now. I think that's also another aspect that surprised me, is that I can now become an editor of my own work. I've acquired a skill from this whole process as well. The sessions have helped me realize that my voice and the genre in which I choose to write is important. It's just as important as any other genre. I'm learning that there is an audience for the type of work that I write. I think that Neil called the work that I do or the work that I write black comedy. I wasn't aware of the genre before what it's called. I was just writing scary stories, and then it turns out that there's actually a title for them. So I'm learning that it's great to see that someone can point out what your voice or the type of direction you are trying to take with your stories. That is basically what the sessions have helped me realize. A moment in the mentoring session that felt like a breakthrough for me was one of the workshops that we had with Nick Mhlongo. It was my favorite workshop because he taught us basically a lot about what a short story is. Basically writing notes during that whole session. One thing I remember from that lesson is that he told us that a short story is basically should have no more than 5 characters. So a short story should have no more than 5 characters, and that if it has more than that, then it's leaning towards becoming a novel if it has more than 5 characters. And then another important aspect I took from that as well, which was a breakthrough for me in my writing, is that a short story should focus on a singular event and then the background of that singular event. So it basically just makes the story, it lessens the story, it makes it less complicated basically. That was a breakthrough for me, and I've definitely been looking at all these pointers in the stories that have been rejected, and I see whether my stories had more than 5 characters, whether my stories were leaning more towards novel territory. So yeah, that was a breakthrough for me, this whole mentoring session. The mentoring sessions, yes, they have changed how I revise and I edit my work. When I read my work now, I ask myself important questions like, what is the theme of the story? And the most important question I ask myself is, what exactly am I trying to say with the story? Why am I writing the story? And what should the reader get from this story? What will they get when they read this particular story? I focus a little bit more on making my characters more stronger now, less animated. So I ask myself, who are the characters? Why are the characters the way they are? How did they become this type of people? And I just ask myself, if this particular character is in the story, what purpose do they serve? Are they just there for the sake of being in the story, or do they actually move the story forward? Those are some of the important questions that I ask myself. I ask myself a lot of questions now, basically, when I revise and edit my work. So it definitely has changed from what it was before. Being a part of this top 10 has made me love storytelling and writing even more. It's writing even more. So because now that I've received feedback, I'm able to point out what my strengths are in terms of writing. I can see that, okay, maybe this is what I should focus on more, and then I also know what my weaknesses are, that perhaps I should work on this a little bit more, or maybe I should just leave certain things out. As the competition continues, I'm obviously looking forward to reading the works of the other writers, because I've heard about some of their titles and themes of their stories. So I'm very intrigued, actually. I want to read what they wrote, what they had to say about certain themes. I'm interested in that. I'm obviously also curious to know who's going to win the competition and how they are going to take that winning story and adapt it into a longer play. I'm intrigued about that entire process of how they will take little work and then turn it into something longer. It's a very interesting process that I'd like to learn about. In terms of my writing journey, I think I'm just going to continue to take a lot of the lessons that I learned here, especially the ones that we had with Neil as well, into other short stories basically that I write, and I'm going to see if when I use these lessons, do my stories become stronger, and what the outcomes are compared to what they were before. I would tell next year's top 10 who are going to be chosen for this competition that it's okay to go through a little bit of what the people call imposter syndrome. So if they feel like maybe it was a mistake or whatnot, that it's okay to go through it for a little bit, but then they should also realize that their stories were good enough, and that is why they were selected. And that's why they were selected. I would also tell them that they should be open to receiving criticism during this process from the editors and from the judges as well, I guess, and that they should be open to receiving criticism and to applying it into their work, because it will actually help them to make their stories better. It will actually help them to become better writers as well. You know, they will change things that they probably unnecessary in the story, so they should definitely be open to criticism. And importantly, they should attend all the mentoring sessions, because the sessions they will not only make them better writers, but they will help them as well to navigate their way through the literary spaces, like navigate their way through literary festivals, through marketing and selling books as well. They should definitely attend all the mentoring sessions as well.